sometimes I just wonder why I'm actually speaking on the women in leadership conference, but you understand it in a minute. My research is about women, and it's not just about women, it's women of color. And if you are healthy, then you can be in leadership, isn't it? Then you can do whatever you want to do. You can have a family, you can enjoy what you want to do. A few years ago, let me just say about 3-4 years ago, I was doing a research, and I'm so interested in menopause, because I wanted to know how people feel, how women experience the symptoms and why, and how they manage it. And I started looking at the research that is out there. The more I look, the more I cry, because there isn't enough or a lot of research on women going through menopause within the color community. And that really hurts me so much. Most of the research that we have is about the Caucasian women, the typical white women, Asian women, and most of these people are outside this country, in New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States, Australia. There's loads and loads of research work, within this area. So I took it upon myself. I said, I'm going to change things. Even if I don't change it as a whole, I'm going to start somewhere. Maybe just start little, raise the awareness so that people can pick it up and do more research in that area. So that we can, do you know the reason why we actually need to know how Black women, how they suffer, how they experience their menopause, the type of symptoms that they have, and also how they manage it? It's because the healthcare industry needs to know. We can't just turn up on a GP surgery and they're giving us the same thing. They need to know the differences, the way we manage our symptoms, the type of symptoms that we have, before they can actually start to treat. They can't just treat us all generally the same way, because there is a difference between us and everybody else. So this is why I'm doing this research. So it's a project in progress. So what I'm going to tell you is what I have done so far, what I'm doing, and what I'm expecting to be done, by the end of the research. So some of the research terms is going to be a little bit strange, but I'll try and explain it as we go along. Yeah? Okay. So do you have this thing?
Or you can just press the right arrow, perhaps. On
This
that.
one?
There you go.
Okay.
It's working.
Okay. So the title of the research is an interpretative phenomenological study of Nigerian women, because I had to choose a community. I can't just choose the whole of the African community. I have to choose, and then from there it can be further research studies can be done within the African community. So as you can see, I'm a researcher. I'm there with Ruskin University, Cambridge campus. That's my university. And what I'll be talking to you today is the aims of the project, why I'm actually doing it, which I've already explained to you in a little bit, and prevalence of women in the UK, objective of the research, statistical considerations, and what do we do with the results if I manage to get my data together, what will I be doing with the results, and I'll be appreciating something for all of us to have. If you have questions, you can just ask me at the end. So what is menopause? Does anybody know what menopause is? Sometimes when I throw it out like this, hot flush, that's what people hear. And people tell you the symptoms. They don't actually know what menopause is. Menopause is when your menstruation, when your period stops. And it has to be 12 months from your last period to 12 months from that last period. That's when you're considered to be menopausal. Now, before then, you can be premenopausal, and after that, you can be postmenopausal. Okay, so a lot of people get it all confused. Is basically what it is when the menstruation period stops. Okay, and it's a transition, and that comes with aging and loss of fertility, because obviously you're not going to be able to produce anymore. And it's marked by biological changes. People have found that there are some changes that happen within the women's body, not just biological changes, psychological changes as well. Emotional changes. People are frightened. Some women, they get so frightened about menopause. just to find out the difference in symptom reporting. So what is the symptoms, that the colored women report, especially the Nigerian women? What kind of symptoms do they actually experience? And also the management of the face, what do they use to manage it? Is it different from what we normally, what other race do use? And how do they come to decision making? How do they come to choosing one method against the other? What influences them? Is it because of the culture? Is it because of where they come from? Is it because of their friends, their families? Is it because of this is what they are used to? Or they don't even bother. Maybe they don't even have the symptoms in the first place. It's because some women they don't even have any symptoms. So if they don't, why? Is it genetically? Is it because they just can't be bothered because they're so busy and they're not even noticing the symptoms at all? So these are the things I'm trying to find out. And also to give these women a voice as well, because at the moment I think their voice is actually quite silent. The voice is very, very silent and subtle. Is to raise the awareness and give them the voice and to bridge the gap in literature, obviously. And also create greater awareness so that other studies can be done in this area as well. Okay, so looking at the preference of women in the United Kingdom, you can see that there are more women than the men. So there's about 32 million. This is the Office of Statistics in 2011. They haven't done anything since then. So I'm actually looking all the time. I'm checking on their website to see if they have done any more. But this is what we have for now that I'm working with. You can see that why are we actually doing menopause? Why are we concerned about women's studies? It's because there are more women than the United Kingdom. There are a lot of 32 million. They've actually gone that increased since then, if not doubled up as well. So we need to study them so that when we're treating, when we are referring to them, we actually know what we are talking about. And if you look at the ladies between the age of 45 to 49, you can see the numbers there. So it's quite a huge amount of numbers. So we need to be caring for these people. We need to be making sure that whatever treatment, whatever there is out there that we are doing, we are actually using research to do what we do, basically. Right, okay, and the objective of the project is how the Black minority group women, how they view menopause, how they manage it, probably repeating myself there, and if there are any other alternative use of HRT, because some women use HRT, and if you're not using HRT, what are other management that is hormone replacement therapy. So if people are not using it, in what other method are they using it and what influences this decision as well. Okay, so what I'll be looking at, so I'm not going to just take the whole of the country because that would be too much data to use. So what I'll be concentrating is really the East Midlands and West Midlands area. So this is the area I'm concentrating about. So when I'm reporting as well, I'm going to be saying that it's only people from East Midlands and West Midlands because I live in that area, so easier for me to go around and get my data. So basically, okay. So going forward, I have to go through the ethical consideration. I've gone through the first stage, so they've approved the first stage. I'm actually getting clearance from the second stage now because they wanted me to give them more information. I've sent it all out to them. So I'm waiting for feedback before I can go ahead with the research. So ethical consideration is basically looking at the benefit of the research. Is it going to benefit anybody? Is it going to cause harm? What I'm doing is it going to be, am I going to respect people? And also, is there going to be deception as well? So that means that when I'm talking to the ladies, I have to be very clear of what I'm saying. And also I have to be truthful and respect them, and there should not be any kind of deception. This is what the ethical committees look at. And are they informed? Do they have all the information that they need before they actually consent to the research? And if they don't, why? Why do they not consent? Is it because you did not give them that information that they require, or because they did not understand it? So we have to make sure that they understand the information. and to avoid harm as well. I'm hoping that it's not going to cause harm because although it causes menopause can cause mental health problems, so I'm hoping that women will not break down when they're talking to me, about menopause and their experiences. But if they do, there's going to be some telephone numbers, there's going to be guidance on how they can manage that afterwards. Am I understanding? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. So organizing my work is what I'm actually doing now. Is really difficult for me because there are a lot of information out there. So organizing my work, putting it all together is what I struggle with. And this is what my supervisor has always been saying about how the amount of work that I'm doing, how it is organized. So I'm hoping to organize my work by introduction, just putting the introduction first, literature review, and the introduction should just be introducing what menopause is and all of that. Literature review, what the literature says at the moment, and the method I'm going to use. The method I'm going to use is interpretative phenomenological study. Don't worry about it. It simply means looking at the experiences of the woman in real life. Okay, so these are the people that are really going through the experiences. What are the experiences in real life term? And also putting it together into teams, into advice or their concerns, putting them into that little blocks to be able to come to an analysis. And then discuss the issues and conclude and also put out a recommendation. Okay. So, the findings should really be looking at the experiences of menopause within the Nigerian community. It's looking at the growth issues. If there are cultural barriers, do they actually visit their GP? If they don't, why? And also, if they do experience the symptoms, do they tell anybody about it? Do they let people know? Do they let the GP know? If they don't, why? And what are the differences about their own experiences and other colored people? Because I'm going to be looking at comparing it with the Caribbean women as well. I just compare it a little bit with the Caribbean women when I'm reporting the findings as well. And if there is any cultural impact. And is there age difference as well? Did they start at menopause at 45? Because the age of menopause is between 45 and 55 years old. Is it because, did they start years earlier than that? Or is it the same? So those are the things I'll be finding out. Who is going through menopause here?
Not the other end.
Do you, identify with the issues? Do you have any problems with managing the symptoms? Any symptoms at all?
I have symptoms. I won't say I have problems managing it because I think right from the beginning I had to get my mindset right. And once I did that, it was okay because before I started, the first thing people kept saying is, oh, it makes you depressed, you go moody, you go that. But I think once I made the decision, no, I'm going to go through this, embrace it, and live through it,
Yes.
I've been fine.
Yes.
And I started quite young. So mine was kind of induced after I lost my mom.
Menopause, okay.
Yeah, so I started at 40. So it was, and I'm still going through it 10 years after, 12 years after. So, but I've just embraced it. So yes, I have symptoms, but it's managing them.
Yeah. So those are the things I'll be trying to find out. If there are symptoms and the attitude, you've got a very positive attitude about it. So those are the things I'll be kind of picking up as well. That these women are having the symptoms and they have a positive attitude towards it. And this is why they're probably not managing it the way they should be, or they are just coping and they're doing very well with it. So that's an example. Yes.
Have you found any Vanessa earlier than 45?
Have I found any? Yeah, there are people that start early menopause 35, people that are hysterectomy, is medically induced.
I did, and I struggled for like 5 years because I didn't know I had, and going to my GP with the symptoms,
Yes.
my GP wasn't, I'd say he wasn't willing to accept that it was, even after he did the test, and found, I think I'm gonna, that's supposed to be. Actually found out that I was like that, and he kept saying you're too young for it, you're too young to be menopause. Also, 5 years I struggled with mood swings, and I'll do 1 minute I'll be X, the next I'll be down, and only to be told 5 years later that
That is very, very true menopause. See, so this is some of the stories that people are reporting. And when I'm writing my recommendation, I'll be writing that up as well, because my recommendation is going to be published, and this GP are going to get hold of those recommendations as well. Hopefully things will start changing for the women.
it seems like the GPs are not that.
Yeah, they're not so bothered about when it comes to
Maybe it's they don't actually have the knowledge.
I don't have the knowledge.
informed.
They don't know
The
anything.
same problem, and they were all of the same mindset until I actually had to say, I am menopausal. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but I've done my research and I know I'm menopausal. It's early, but that's what it is. And then that's when I got referred to a hospital and actually confirmed it and said to me, you've been struggling, you've been allowed to struggle for 5 years unnecessarily.
And then that's why it's good what you're doing, because
Yeah.
you are trying to explore using the people who have experience, like you said, interpretation and knowledge about the people who have gone through it. And then the GPs, sometimes what they do is Google an information. The Google is a sort of something that is generic. So for you are dealing with your findings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're quite right, it's lack of information, and some of the GPs, they actually don't know and how to deal with a black woman that comes through their door. They don't know how to deal with that. So hopefully, I'm hoping that once I've done my research, I've raised the awareness, other people will start doing research work and doing that area as well, but to raise even further awareness too. Thank you so much, ladies, for that. So, menopause then. So the literature review, we've just been looking at menopause, how it is reported generally in the African community, looking at the Nigerian women of color, and look at the medical view, because the medical view identifies a woman as ill, that they are ill, that they've lost, lost their libido, they've, lost life, enjoying life, they're coming to the end of their life, really, basically. That's what the medical view reported. And we're going to be looking at the psychological aspect of it as well, the feminist view. Feminists, they are saying that although we have come to transition, that is not the end of us. This is the beginning of us. Because most women, because most women that are going through this phase, they are in leadership. They are, they are managing their families. They've got children, have gone through universities, and they've come to a point in their life where they are enjoying what they are doing. So we shouldn't really classify everybody as they have come to the end of their life. So the physical changes, the psychological changes, the cultural aspect as well, that plays a whole part in it. And I'm going to be looking at the debates around menopause as well, which is a lot of debates, especially when it comes to HRT. Should people be taking it up, and how long should they be taking it, and what are the disadvantages and also the advantages of HRT. So I'll be looking at the debates around that. It's a huge amount of work, but I'm actually quite prepared because it's a subject that is that I'm very, very interested in doing. So like I said, women between 45 and 55 suffer it. Is it the same as a black woman? Did they see years early or did they see years later? Because there is a study that I was reading, it was done in Australia, and they used very small amounts of women, about 5, 6. And what they found is that those ladies, the what they were using to manage their symptoms actually helped them to look younger, you know, and most of their children coming up, you know, generation after them, they were not actually going through menopause. They did not have menopause symptoms. So I'm looking at that research very, very closely, and maybe that's what is happening in the Nigerian community, in the African community. We don't know, you know. So I'm going to look into that in more details, and I'll be looking at the ladies that are willing to participate in the research. So it's going to be thrown out in the open. So I'll be going to the GP surgeries. I'll be going to the places where these ladies meet. In fact, I might even attend some of their churches just to recruit the women, and I'll be interviewing them, and the interview will be tape recorded, so it's going to be semi-structured interview, basically because I want to just like raise a question and just allow them to just talk, just tell me how they feel, you know, because I'm going to be using interpretative neurological analysis, so I want them to talk, just say everything, you know, that is going on, and want you to hear. You might be one of them. Hopefully when I come to you, please open up. So the tape will be recorded, like I said, and transcribed verbatim using interpretative analysis, and recommendation will be done. So what do we do with the results? Send it out, you know, publish it. It will be published in a journal, hopefully, medical journals or nursing journal, healthcare journal, or all of them, depending on who assess. And then the recommendation will be kind of be sent to the GP surgeons, to healthcare, to the clinics, and it's left to them what to do with those recommendations. Hopefully they will take it up. Yes. So I have two supervisors that are helping me with my work, Dr. Roberts and Susan. Dr. Susan, they're very nice people, and I just want to appreciate them because I told them I was going to present today, and they are very, very happy, and they wished me well. So they're very lovely people, answering all the questions, returning my work, and you know, helping me with the project itself. And fellow academic students, some of my colleagues, they're very, very good, and sometimes we meet just to encourage each other, because sometimes it can be quite emotional, because the work is just too much. Sometimes you get into depression, and you know, but when we all meet, we kind of encourage each other and go through, you know, what the things that we are going through. And my family as well, who have put up with me. I'm very busy when I'm not in school. I'm at work. You know, I'm kind of neglecting them sometimes, and people that are well wishers and organizers of this conference, obviously, I just want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to come and present my work. Any questions? Yes.
I have a question. So, obviously, I own the fact that I'm not from the Nigerian community, nor this is, let's say, well-intentioned naivety, but I'm always interested in, because what you're doing here is basically a scientific project.
Yes.
To what degree are you trying to mitigate confirmation bias? Because obviously, what you mentioned at the beginning, which is the hypothesis, is that women of colour are could potentially have different effects, whether that's physiological or emotional, and that might lead to different treatment. But how will you ensure that the findings that when you find those findings, that there won't be confirmation bias? Because they could be, you might come from that starting point that you would want to find a difference.
Yes. There are so many ethical issues that you have to go through, and it's a rigorous project as well. You're being supervised as well, and make sure that you are truthful to whatever that you are, you know, whatever you are doing, or whatever information you're giving out, you are truthful. You have to validate your research by making sure that the numbers are, you know, that the numbers you're using are reasonable. So I'm going to be using about 15 to 20 women, and it's going to be narrative. They just like talk to me about their experiences, you know. So there are rigorous in the things that are in place to make sure that the project, you know, is able to identify those issues and able to also be of what